Welcome back. New episode of the Audible Angle and new effort to be made based on some comments. We're going to start coming in a little hotter. We spent 20 minutes in the production meeting bullshitting, so we can skip some of that on the intro. We're going to get, well, first of all, I'm Dilly. There's some confusion, I think, for some people. I'm Dilly. Co-piloting the mission, as always, is Urbs. He's, you can think Urbs has the cool glasses. I don't know. Whatever I got, no glasses as of now. We're going to get into, we got a lot of comments this week. Most evers this week. We appreciate that. First one, and I don't know if I don't know if you saw this one, Irby, but little shout out to Mike R. Mandu a couple days ago. And this is on one of the full episodes, not even on one of the shorts. And I guess I got to quote it. I got to read the whole thing.
Let it rip. Is it long?
No, it's not long because we're coming in hot. Wow.
Right.
Wow, comma. This might be the worst podcast I've ever heard. And let me tell you something, brother. Let me tell you something. I got something for you, Mike R. Mandu. Like the name, Mandu.
Yeah.
I like it.
Where's it coming from?
Here's my hot take reply, buddy. Thanks for listening. And I hope you come back because it can only go up from here, right? I mean, if we're the worst all time, that ain't bad news, brother. That ain't bad news at all. This literally cannot be any worse. Moving on up to the east side, baby.
Hey, Dilly, I used to live that, man, as an alcoholic. I used to wake up in the morning and I knew this was going to be the worst I could feel every morning. I was always going to get better, baby.
Yeah, so, I mean, no hard feelings, Mike, if you come across us again. Hell, and to anybody else listening that thinks, I mean, I don't know, maybe he's being sarcastic. We don't even know. But, we accept negative feedback as a way to get better. You're on the journey with us, figuring out how to even have proper lighting. I know we got a comment that I'm a little too blurry, so it is a different camera this week. Maybe that'll be a little better. More directly into the show, Urbs, and I'm going to start with you on this. We asked Bears fans some questions, and we got some replies. I think, maybe the angle of our question was Bears fans were delusional lunatics, and you went through some of the comments, I think. What'd you think? Any change in perspective?
Yeah, I'll be honest, and I did my best to respond to most, if not all, and I know you did too. You're coming from the Audible Angle. I'm coming from my personal account, which is fine with me. I will tell you, I don't know if we use the specific words of delusional, Dilly. I don't believe so. There may have been some comment clapback from yours truly that did maybe use the term delusional. And the only reason I say that is, and to answer your question directly, my mind has not been changed. Frankly, I think what we have gone into that call or that episode on is maybe the Bears are a little bit too high, especially going into the last 2 weeks of the season. Granted, I don't blame them. I don't blame them being high because they just beat their arch enemy up the road here in Highway 43, Green Bay Packers, and fair enough. At the end of the day, I think one of the best comments we got was, hey, we scored more than you. We didn't. Yeah. And that's really all they need to do.
I like the comment, too. How were you feeling at the end of the third quarter? I was waiting for the fourth quarter. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that point blank.
Probably more.
Some of the comments, the only comments that kind of hit me a little bit tough on were the cope-harder. And I'm going to take a little bit of exception to the cope-harder. I've heard that in person. I've now seen it in writing. I'm not certain that the Green Bay Packer fan base is the fan base that's coping. I think the existential starvation for success from the greater Chicago area is where the coping comes from. And I guess I don't disagree, right? Like, they just want to be relevant. They want to grab the relevancy and maintain that. And maybe Packer Nation kind of understands and has lived for the last 35 years in relevance, if you will. Lucky us. But I think that's where kind of I sit right now. I've got more to say, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
You got more thoughts, you say?
No, I do have a few more thoughts, but I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on some of the comments.
Well, I like to break down scientifically by the numbers, and I will, hat tip. They didn't put it in the comments, but some direct, personal, real life replies, and I know we have maybe differing exposure to Bears fans. So the math would say 100% of real life Bears fans' friends were actually pretty reasonable about where things are at. And then I'd say 50% of the replies on our short video were pretty reasonable. Reasonable fans, reasonable characters. If you add that up and do the math, that's 75% of Bears fans. Pretty reasonable, actually. I got one comment said, and this is from a buddy that lives in Chicago. He's like, I don't know, man, you got it wrong. Everyone down here, all his friends, everybody he talks to, a Pulaski alum that ended up a Bears fan. Kind of weird to start with, but he said we're all glass half empty guys. He's like, it's probably trauma. And it could be an age thing even, where older fans that carry the trauma of everything since 1985 have a little more, doom and gloom leveling them out, and maybe younger fans, 20-year-old dudes, the first time through, they're ready, and perhaps overly optimistic. What were your additional thoughts?
I just want I want reality to win, Dilly. I just want more reality. Let's look at the numbers. I do like the comments. Overall, here's the bottom line. Continue to comment, continue to make this podcast better, because we do make changes. Dilly's got a new camera. I mean, I think he was running around on Christmas Day, grabbing cameras, grabbing video, different things, trying them out, talking. He's probably first name basis at the Best Buy, the local Best Buy there over in Minneapolis. There's a lot of changes that we're willing to make. I do enjoy hearing the guy saying the worst podcast ever, because that makes me laugh, because we are stuck right smack dab in reality, Dilly. I know that we're probably an hour or two away from getting the call from maybe FS1, possibly maybe one of the I think Netflix is looking to get a live podcast. I think
they need content.
Their success yesterday was pretty strong on the live NFL network kind of stuff. But I mean, we're realistic, right? Like, we can always go up. So I love the comments. I love the banter. And to go hard like that, to say it's the worst podcast ever, fair enough, man. I'm all about the smack talk. I'm all about it. Bring it. I would love that gentleman. What was his name? Give me his name again. We'll give him a shout out.
Mike R. Mandu.
Mandu. I believe that's got to be a real, right? Like, that's a real name. Mandu, please comment and let us know if we did any better or, frankly, any worse on this episode. We got a lot to get to. Can't wait for that comment.
I'll tell you one thing. Again, we can't spend all day on Mike because we're coming in hot and moving fast here, but I'll tell you one thing. I agree with Mike. We ain't the best. We're not number one. So let's find some place to some common ground in regular life too.
I like it.
Speaking of fans, we got a big moment on the podcast coming up, and this was booked before the Christmas Day action, which we will get into. Definitely affecting Packer Nation, the action on Thursday. But before that game even happened, we scheduled noted Viking fan from South St. Paul. Kind of give him a soft intro here. Fellow Division I athlete. I don't know if I go star. Maybe not a star.
Nah.
Division I athlete, no sports. Maybe, if we were younger people, maybe autistic a little. I don't know. I mean, have you ever thought that?
The fact that the guy knows from 1997 exact populations from any city in the state of Wisconsin, or he knows, you ask him at college and he knows the mascot. I mean, right now. So there is some autistic tendencies to this fella, but he is a fellow Division I athlete, and he did pave the way up here at UW Green Bay.
All right, are you ready to bring him in? Ryan Andrews, everybody knows him as Druzy. Let's go.
Hey,
button.
Ryan Andrews, how are you? Let's get him in. Third window coming in hot.
Vikings fan represent.
Ryan Andrews, Druzy, where you at?
The thing's not popping up for him to enter.
I don't know where he is. Hey, Druzy.
Do you think did you text him or anything this morning?
I did. He was slotted for early afternoon, slotted in. I know he's traveling. He was coming back into town from visiting some family on Christmas Day. I believe his sister's down in the Milwaukee area, so he had a little 5-hour drive. Maybe maybe it's technological. Maybe it's technology.
Well, check your phone as he texts.
I'm on it.
I would have thought potentially after Thursday's game over excessive celebration penalty, perhaps he couldn't make the 5-hour drive.
I'll be honest, I did get a picture from him on Christmas Day, and it was a picture of him and his folks at guess where on Christmas Day? A tavern.
Well, got to watch the big game, have a little fun.
It was during the big game. So let's just assume. I mean, unfortunately, and those of us in the biz, I'm sure Mr. Mandu is going to be all over us in the comments on this one. But it doesn't look like it. Looks like we were stood up by one of our good friends. I would call Druzy a good friend. I mean, at least up to this point. I mean, to be determined. Let's see how we can work things out here on a couple of phone calls, maybe a quick text. Maybe we can get him in by the end of the show. Doesn't look like he's showing, Dilly. Maybe a little overserved on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I don't have anything from him, but I mean, and this is a true story, folks. We wanted to have a Vikings fan on, A, because we're playing them next week, and B, again, this is before the game. We wanted to either get the Viking fan, why wasting my time watching that game? I'll be honest, I did not expect what we saw on Thursday, which was not good. Not good at all from Detroit, and not great from Minnesota, but I knew some people at the game. I bet you they might not have made it home from downtown to whatever suburb they live in with the amount of fun, especially I actually, and Mandu can check us on this, fact check us if he needs to, but I text literally one play before the Addison end around with about, they're basically need a couple first downs to really start to ice the game away. And I said, man, the Vikings could use a creative run play call here. And then zoop, whether you call it an end around or jet sweep, whatever you want to call it these days, Addison, boom, touchdown. And from that point on, it had to be fun to be a Viking fan.
Yeah, I mean, nice game, kind of sandwiched there in the middle. It's kind of some stinkers or the who cares games. I mean, that was a relevant game. I know the Broncos in the nightcap had to win that game to solidify a chance for the 1 seed. I will say hats off to Vikings fan. I would have loved to get that, that firsthand look from a Vikings fan, because both of us are not. I will tell you, out of the 4 fan bases, Packers being one of those 4 in the NFC North, I think that the Vikings fans are the most palatable of the group, which is why we're entertaining bringing Druzy in the fold. And quite frankly, he was slotted as the number 1 seed to be the regular contributor to the show up until this very moment. Now there's arguably some challenges that we have to see. We have to work through. We have to talk to his manager. We have to have our people talk to his people, which is going to be a whole thing. We understand that, but I will tell you specifically for the game, I think the defense of the Vikings were who we thought they were, and the defensive coordinator did a great job in that game of making things uncomfortable for Goff and the guys. And I think what we should be talking about here in big picture, and I know we're going to hit on it today, is, boy, was that game more about were the Vikings good, or was it more about were the Lions kind of that fraudulent team in the North and could potentially finish at last place? I mean, that's crazy talk from one year to the next, but it's reality, man.
This will be, we don't want to just rake Druzy over the coals too hard here, but just the last thing on Druzy. I think I'd rather hear that the celebration got a little out of hand and he didn't feel, I understand 5-hour drive. He didn't feel like getting up early to get home to his computer and make sure he got here on time. I'd rather hear that it was that than, just couldn't figure out how to log in, forgot, a bunch of technical issues. Then that kind of rules him out in the long term. If it's over celebration, a guy can get past that. He's probably feeling way better now than he did at 8 a.m. So we'll try to get him back. As far as the Lions, were the Lions that bad or the Vikings better than we thought? All year long, there's been a lot of talk about the Vikings have a championship level defense, or a contending level defense. And there's a lot of lamentation about how they handled the quarterback situation and maybe not having a sturdy competition to start the year before they handed it to JJ. I think it's, and another thing with the Vikings is they have some guys out. Grenard went on the shelf. So big, important players injured that they're not making the playoffs. So get the surgery done sooner so you get back in the offseason grind a little earlier. I think it's good Vikings defense. I think even though the Vikings didn't do much offensively, that's what, all agreed not ready for prime time, third string undrafted free agent quarterback. Hey, but they scored points. They did enough. They could have, with different quarterback play, they could have scored 40 on Detroit because Detroit turned the ball over so much. I think it's bad Detroit, and it's good Minnesota defense, and everything else bad for Detroit. They can't stop anybody, and boy, if they get either under pressure, literally, as in sacking the quarterback, or just under the pressure, and I've been saying this for years, when they're not front running, they even in their greatest years, they didn't look the same. But when they got a 14-point lead and just leaned on it, and Dan Campbell was all gas, and maybe we need to talk about Dan and whether or not Ben Johnson played a little bit more of a role than we think in it. They were great at being ahead. They gave up to, I think it was San Fran in the playoffs. They gave up a lead, but generally good leading from the front. And under pressure, I don't know. They opened a lot of doors of consternation and question heading into the offseason.
Yeah, and I've done some reading since yesterday afternoon's game, and the pundits on the interwebs and the social media are calling for the dark days of Detroit to be returning. I don't know if I subscribe to dark days because you still have Goff, you still have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Amon-Ra. You're probably going to get one of the best tight ends back fully healthy at the beginning of next year. So there were maybe one injury. There probably were more injuries on defense that I'm not aware of, not being in Detroit proper, if you will. So I'm not really in the pulse of that. But boy, you've got to look, and I'm going to take. I wanted to force myself to look at a bigger picture here, Dilly, and say, how have they just? Is it just this year, or is what we believe the Lions are now, which is a contender? They were coming into this season as a contender. I mean, the last 3 seasons. So I look and I said, what have they done this season included, and then remove that 2 seasons before? And 3 seasons ago, they were in the NFC Championship and lost. Last year, they won the NFC North, were the 1 seed in the NFC, and they were with a record of 15-2. And lost in the division series. Like they lost in the divisional round of the playoffs, which then this year they're not even going to get an opportunity in the playoffs. And the one thing that is different from last year at 15-2 and this year for the Lions are those 2 coordinators. So I think, to your point, we squarely need to have a conversation about Dan Campbell. And I do think that Dan Campbell's probably biggest skill is a leader of men. And I don't mean the 54 or 53 that are activated that day. I mean the 15 to 25 guys that are on his staff. I think he's a better leader, but the right people have to be in seats. And as a leader in an organization, a leader on a football team, a leader on any other sports team, a head coach knows you surround yourself with the best people and you look really smart. But when those best people are no longer there, guess what, fella? It squarely sits on you again, and maybe you're not so smart. And maybe now the imposter syndrome creeps in and reality hits. Is Dan Campbell in that team in the last 3 years a product of Ben Johnson? And slightly, quite frankly, how did the defense get so terrible? I know they weren't great under Aaron Glenn, and he's now leading a subpar Jets team. But I'll be honest, Ben Johnson has got the Bears at least relevant, and we know that. Let's concede that as a Packer fan. The Bears are relevant. They're real. They're a concerning team. Now does this slip the Lions out of relevancy in the division and, quite frankly, the NFC? Because really at this point in the last 3 seasons, Dilly, the Lions haven't done anything in the playoffs. Because ultimately, you can't judge yourself as, well, we got to the NFC Championship. Because if that's the case, then, boy, we should be walking around with a lot more swagger here in Packers country, shouldn't we?
Well, yeah, and when you look back at consider this season is complete for him. So it's this season, last season, the season before. Those are the 3 we're looking at. And it definitely on a results basis, it's been decline. The record's great, but teams are judged, coaches are judged on playoffs and playoff victories and how far you progress. I think always looking at just championships gets a little carried away. You want to, there's only one team that wins the Super Bowl, but you want to win some playoff games. You want to get some of those under your belt. You want to be ascending, not descending. It's kind of a cliche that you hear from CEOs and businessmen, and I assume it should be head coaches because they're basically more so than the GM and everybody else. They're the CEO of the on-field game, and the head coach should never aspire to be the smartest guy in the room. And again, Dan Campbell, leader of men, did great things. I think in particular, he's a head coach that should not want to feel like he's the smartest guy in the room. And he wasn't. I doubt he would say he was when he had Ben Johnson. And you mentioned their defense was a little shoddy under Aaron Glenn anyway, so I think it's less on the defense. Jumping back a little bit to what you said too, their defensive backfield has been decimated by injury this year, but it was banged up and bad last year. It's been the defense in general and the secondary has been a problem for years now. And this year, I think the biggest thing, their offensive line. They lost a guy, and then they had a guy retire. I get their names mixed up because it's like Ragnow and a different Viking man name. They have cool names. But without those guys, eventually you have to look at the GM and the NFL draft. And that is something I've heard from Vikings fans before. Everybody kind of loves Tesla, makes some great catches and stuff. But in reality, those types of picks sometimes, kind of luxury picks, they're not taking an approach or at least haven't been successful on. The Packers, we get bored every year. Oh, they third round, the middle rounds come around. It's going to be a tackle who's projected to a guard or a guard that could play, he's played all 5 positions. It's the same thing every time. And our offensive line hasn't been great, haven't been stalwarts, but you just have to have a philosophy of we got to keep beefing that up. We're going to miss sometimes, we're going to miss some years, and they've just missed on too many draft picks, and they let the offensive line deteriorate, and were unsuccessful replacing guys. So it's either Dan Campbell or it's GM. I don't know if they're to the point where they're going to I think they have enough goodwill and success that, although it was ugly on Christmas Day on national Netflix, Snoop kind of saved the day with the halftime show. Hat tip to our friend Snoop. probable listener, and the whole crew there. But I don't think it's fire Dan Campbell yet, but it's, you gotta make some changes, or, and sometimes it's not firing guys, it's changing around, bringing in an assistant head coach, switch some titles around. I'm not 100% sure on what the Detroit Lions setup is. Do they have a run game coordinator and a pass game coordinator and that kind of stuff? If they don't, they're going to have to do that. Or if they do, then they have to say whoever they think is better is fully in charge. We can't have, whichever way, they have to do the opposite.
Yeah, and I do want to in perfect. I think our guy from Bear Nation, Mandu, which we talked about earlier in the show, in staying with our worst podcast ever, I do want to take a little bit of introspection here, and I want to look back and say, okay, so we talked about the Lions and what they've done the last 3 years. Let's talk about the Packers and what they've done in the playoffs in the last 5. So let's take a quick look and try to keep that worst podcast ever up and say, where have the Packers been in the last 5 years? And they've made the playoffs in all 5 of the last seasons, advancing to the NFC twice, the championship game twice in 2020 and 2023, losing the divisional round in 2021, and then losing in the wild card twice out of those 5 in 22 and 24. So the Packers haven't been a crazy amount of success, if you will, but it hasn't been terrible. When you get to the NFC Championship twice in 2020 and 2023, and the 2 others you've kind of lost in your first round, and then 2025, let's use the 6th season, we know we locked up the playoffs, but I think a lot of this stuff, and we can't put it squarely. What I guess I'm saying here is you can't put it squarely on Dan Campbell, because a lot of it has to do with health of your team. And I will build in an excuse for us in the playoffs. If we're not healthy, I mean, it's tough to win. We know the deal with Parsons. We know the deal with Kraft. Those 2 guys, barring medical history, I guess, they are not playing in the playoffs. We just know that. But those are key contributors too, and we've got it's a laundry list. I mean, you look on Friday today, you look at the injury list, it's 22 strong, Dilly. It's 22 strong. That's not where you want to be. You want to be where the Ravens are right now and have 5 or 6 on there. The problem with the Ravens is one of their 5 the 6 people, one of those 6 guys is Lamar, and that's kind of their heartbeat of that team. So I know I'm bouncing around, but I wanted for our guy Mandu, who's our number 1 listener at this point. I mean, honestly, there has not been in the history of the Audible Angle a person called out as many times as Mandu. Possibly Druzy will be the second person to be called out because of his blatant disregard to respect our timing. But we'll kind of move on beyond that. But I do think that it's worth discussing the meteoric, the significant
meteoric.
Yes. The drop from the Lions. Easy for me to say. The Lions went from 15-2. They could have 8 or 9 losses. They already have 8. They could have 9 if they lay an egg. I don't see a Dan Campbell team laying an egg in week 18, but who knows, right? I mean, but boy, that's tough.
It's a dark yeah, we can wrap a little bit on the Lions here. Agree with the downfall. I think, and this is a weird backwards way to think about things, but we saw this once with the Eagles after a Super Bowl season. Lost their coordinators, started off strong, shit the bed down the stretch, and then they rebounded and won the Super Bowl. So there is a hangover from being very good and losing your coordinators. Even if there's a argument to be made, Aaron Glenn wasn't any good anyway on the defensive side of the ball for them. Ben Johnson certainly is very good. So you lose a lot of talent there, and a lot of, Detroit fans probably were very in tune to that. I don't know if the general NFL fan is as locked into that, but it is important to understand that this wasn't wholly unpredictable for them. And if I actually think they should not fire Dan Campbell. I'll say that explicitly. They need to have some continuity and try to change things up and come back. And you know, there's things you can do. They can't hang it up yet, but you know, the Super Bowl, we can't give them a Super Bowl hangover, but the 15-2 season hangover, it's happened before. And some teams come back and some don't. So I'd say it's in the balance. I don't think they're. I said last thing and I lied. But it is. I'm not sure Goff is the guy at all. And when I said more doors open, you know, you get the Dan Campbell, you get the GM. Those are pretty obvious. I think Goff is a serious situation for them. On you know, you open the door to those questions. Is this a guy? Can we just reload, reorganize for another 3-year window with Goff, or do we need to probably quietly think about, boy, we gotta figure out where his contract is at. I don't know that. You know, we got a lot of offseason to dig into that kind of technicality, but do they have to start cycling through some second or third round picks? They tried it with the Tennessee guy. I don't think he's the answer, but do they got to keep cycling more quarterbacks through?
Guess who knew that before we're saying it on this show? The Los Angeles Rams knew that. That's why they made him. They knew that 3 years ago or whenever that trade happened with Stafford. And look where the Rams are today. You know, the Rams are kind of on cruise control. Now, a lot of that has to do some of their offseason changes, too, with the wide receiving core and hitting on Puka Nacua. But, boy, I think that's a lot of credence. I don't think that the answer is Goff. I think Detroit, it's easy to say that right now, right, for us to sit here. And I think that's probably the sentiment in Detroit is this guy was shit last night. I mean, he didn't look good at all. I think he fumbled it twice on you know, under center, and that's on him. I mean, maybe some of it's on a new center. I had that conversation with the people who are watching it. Maybe there's a new center. I don't know.
I think they might have had an in-game injury. Believe it or not, I was spending time with family and doing the in and out and pausing, and by spending time with the family, you saw me in the production meeting. I was consuming freshly baked cookies, but then I had to quickly depart the kitchen and go back to watching football, and then I'd sneak back in. It was a whole ordeal. Can I call a quick audible here?
Let her rip. Go ahead.
Quick audible, because we're doing a disservice to Caleb Roberts -P2Y. Felt pretty bad when the game fell below 6 minutes, and y'all had the football. Had faith until then. Reasonable guy, shout out. Christian Solid 1098. Blah, blah, blah. As Bears fan, I can't read them all. Reasonable. Thank you. Thank you. And, of course, probably our second favorite from Jared Anderson, 1289. Bears fan here. At the end of the third quarter, we were waiting for the fourth quarter. And I tell you what, that's a great mindset. Let's not let Mandu overshadow everything. We don't even know if that SOB, who we love, is a Bears fan or not. So I didn't want to lump it all together. But, you know, and James Kelfier, you know, whatever. I don't know if these are last names or cool monikers. You know, pretty terrible game for us, but we had to do what we did all year and get the W. I'm paraphrasing some here. So, reasonable Bears fan. It wasn't all negative. Let's not get hung up on that. Mandu guy.
Fuck that.
We're never going to forget.
Mandu. Fuck that Mandu, man. I mean, but here's the deal. I'm leaning into it, Dilly. I'm not running from that. I'm running right into that smack dab. I'll give that son of a gun a big old hug, Mandu. I feel, you know, if you think about a Mandu, send in a picture, Mandu. I'm thinking you're 6'4". You got a cowboy hat, maybe, I don't know, maybe from Southern Illinois, somewhere near that area. I'm thinking you shoot a couple ducks in the winter. You go hunting a big rack. Maybe that's a Mandu. That's what I'm thinking. Cowboy hat and big belt buckle.
Hey, if you ever end up with a Mandu trying to hold you down, just don't. I mean, just fight it, embrace, and persevere. What do we got up next? I know, obviously, we have a lot of updates from Packer injury reports, Ravens injury reports. Speaking of updates, just a quick little blurb here. And it is a purposeful thing we want to get into on the show, and we will. It's a busy NFL rules the world. Shout out to River Falls football. Heading to the Stag Bowl coming up, I believe, January 4th, Division III championship. That's University of Wisconsin, River Falls. We're working on having a former player, alumni guest come give us the angle. Probably a shorter episode. Some people, don't like the hour long. But we're gonna just dedicate something to that game, and we're gonna get it in before the game, and maybe follow up with a national championship. But look forward to that. Tune in soon. Keep an eye out for that. Good way to do that is subscribe and do all the stuff everybody else tells you to do. And click the button. Notifications, even better. But, tune in when you can. And if you like Division III sports, passionate about mid-range football that's not totally destroyed by NIL and transfers and sit-outs, River Falls, they're playing North Central.
North Central, yeah. The Falcons from River Falls going to play North Central. I have no idea. That's where Druzy would have helped Dilly. He would probably tell us what the mascot was from North Central. But I will hats off to that squad. They made the top 10. That their win, River Falls beating John Hopkins on the last 3rd and 6 touchdown throw. Top 10 Sports Center moment. Well in. I wish I could have remembered the wide receiver or tight end guy. I don't know. He looked 6'4". Probably a tight end, maybe a wide receiver. Doesn't matter. He was drinking beer with his family this weekend, take a little time off for Christmas. That guy, top 10. Yeah, you got to move that down, tell the kids.
That's why we're going to bring in an expert to help us out with that guy and the team in general, and the history of the team probably. We'll see how long we go. But I will say, just a little teaser, there's some inside information on that particular game and that particular situation that is, there was a little more than luck. I'll just say this, some might call it a little bit of dumb luck involved in the end of that game. And we're all positivity. Sometimes dumb luck is all you need. Take luck in any form. Get the W, baby. Get the W.
That's what that guy that commented said. And it was the not man do, the man don't. That's what he said.
The other guy, Jared Anderson, or who? One of these guys. One of these good guys.
Well, let's talk about the injuries, Dilly. Let's talk about the Packers injuries. What do we think? We've got a big game Saturday night. Another Saturday night game. What the hell's going on with my Saturday nights? Who cares? 12:65. The Packers are on. Cancel your plans, Dilly. 2 Saturdays in a row. Who knows what's going to happen the next Saturday?
Consider them canceled, and there is no doubt, if I'm not sitting right here, actually, sadly enough, I will be within about a 2-mile radius at most. So, and that'd be like at the nephew's with a couple other guys watching the game or whatever. Nothing big. The thing about the NFL injury report is you hardly know anything. So obviously this is going to be speculative. What we know is, illness. There's some guys with illness. Malik Willis, we're obviously going to focus on quarterback health. He was out with an illness. He did practice once. Love started the week practicing. And now is it walk
Audible, Dilly? Audible.
Yeah.
Can. Looking on the line on the interwebs, Adam
Yes,
Schefter,
sir.
6 minutes ago, ESPN sources, quarterback Jordan Love is out Saturday night versus the Ravens due to his concussions, and Malik Willis expected to start. So we can go from there. Sorry to drop you off there. I kind of did a little can. And I see you on the tight end spot. You touched, you realize you're now running a different route. Malik Willis is our guy. Let's go with that. Let's get a little feedback. Let's get fired up. I'm feeling positive.
What I actually meant to do when I was going through the other shout outs, I was going to shout out our old friend Aaron Jones and the Vikings. And that can made me think, and he said tight end in motion. Our good friend Aaron Rodgers, probable listener, he, if I would have kept talking when you were audibling there, you would have said, just like Rodgers said to the guy in motion, what the fuck are you doing? And he called him back. So I'm glad I stopped so I didn't get admonished in Aaron Rodgers style. Here's the deal, and we can cut to it. We didn't have to, fans alike, that I'm not going to go through a whole web of speculation, but good for us. I don't care, and I don't know if he was or was not cleared. We're talking Love here in the concussion protocol. And before we get into Malik, we can do a little quick can into the whole concussion thing. I'll tell you what, I don't give a shit if he was cleared or not. We would have been watching that game thinking, don't get hit, don't get sacked, don't run, don't do anything, please, because you get a little ding, whether it's the same concussion or who knows, you just be cringing. So 100%. We're going to have a conversation of, do you bench him anyway? Because of the circumstances now being locked in the playoffs. Please just punch that Malik is going to be ready to go. His shoulder injury, obviously he's got to be able to throw in order to be cleared to play. So I don't have that much worry about it. I assume we'll have a second quarterback activated, so we'll be covered. Unlike in the Bears game where it was kind of like, what's Randall Cobb up to? Is he still on the active roster to come in and quarterback? So feel good about that. But specifically about the concussion protocol, do you have a firm grasp of the concussion protocol?
I have no clue, to be honest. Here's what I do know, and I'd like to know. I know you're asking the question because you probably, and I think any good salesman doesn't ask a question without already knowing the answer. So I'm gonna spin it back to you here. But what I do know is that the Green Bay Packers have a neuropsychologist on staff, and that person, it happens, I believe it's a female, that she then can clear Love. But beyond that, Love then has to take the mediator, which is the NFL's neuropsychologist, and get cleared from the protocol from that person too, that individual. So my understanding is that he has to be cleared. Now, during the protocol, what I did not know, Dilly, and this is kind of runs along the lines of, did you know, is that they can be practicing. Love was practicing all week, and the offensive coordinator came on yesterday in his press conference and said Jordan Love has done everything he needs to do during the concussion protocol to be cleared to play. Now, that obviously, knowing what we know from our guy, Adam Schefter, and I appreciate the text from Shaffy to us here at Audible Angle, because I did let him know that we were going to be on air. So he told me first, and then he contacted ESPN. I appreciate that. We know that he wasn't cleared. But how do you not? How are you practicing? And obviously nobody's getting hit. And to your point, Dilly, we would have been thinking of this. This is a smart decision from the organization. I think that they don't. But I think there's so much smoke and mirrors. And this goes into Tua. And was he cleared to play instead? And this is why his career is basically ultimately derailed, if you will, if not over at this point down in Miami. But talk to me what you know. Like we have experience. I have experience in concussion protocol, but that's from the 90s, and I'll guarantee you concussion protocol today is much different than ours in then. And I mean, I was a firm believer back in that day, you don't tell anybody if you got your bell rung. You just don't say anything, and then you're fine. You clear concussion protocol because you don't say anything.
Well, in our day, getting your bell rung wasn't a concussion. Wasn't considered. You didn't even. It was like you're either out, as in unconscious, or out of it. Clearly, out of it is kind of the only ways. Or you throw up. That's not an uncommon concussion reaction.
Very good point. In Mr. Mandu, that is why we are probably the worst podcast you've ever seen. Is because we're both CTE survivors, if you will. I mean, that's. So it doesn't surprise me that we're the worst podcast ever, because I'm working with a couple short neurosurgical things. But anyway, sorry, I derail. Obviously, Mandu has gotten to me. Continue.
Probably should have gone over that with you before the show so you could process it a little further. But I will say this. I was aware that you can work out, and it's not always a limited practice. Sometimes they just go through a light workout, and if they get through that without any new or worsening symptoms, then they can do limited practice. And I think as the protocol goes, they have to do limited, get checked out, and then they can do a full practice and get checked out again. No headaches, no other symptoms. Love was limited all week. And I will say this, I don't think we'll ever really know. I mean, maybe they'll say he was cleared, but we're being extra cautious. Maybe we might find that out. But we don't know if he didn't go full participation one of those days because he wasn't cleared or because he was nobody. It's 25 people long, the limited participant list. So we don't really know that. But yes, there are once the symptoms abide, let's say a little bit, then they can be cleared for physical activity, basically. But then they have to check each time that nothing else happens. The two things and we did talk about this one, as we alluded to. The one thing they don't do is a full contact test. They don't actually bang anybody around or say, let's give him a little bit of a headshot and see how he feels. So to me, that it's always up in the air on, is it really over? Well, yeah, I can jog around and feel fine. I can do drop back and do warm-up passes and feel fine, or, whatever that stuff is. But they never bang you around. Number two, in our defense, as the worst podcast of all time, in our defense, I don't think the coaches know exactly what's going on in the concussion protocol most of the time, because their clear answer every time is, throw the hands up, we're out of it. The doctors will take care of this. I don't know if they're actually called neuropsychologists. That sounds a little like made up words, but is that the official name? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
Doesn't matter. You're fact checking me real time, Mandu. Mandu, come on.
Some other people handle that. Thank you for asking me the question that we knew you were going to ask Mr. In the Room reporter guy every single time, every day, after every step. We don't know shit. It's a doctor's decision. Move along. And maybe we'll find out that he would have been cleared Saturday morning and could have played. But, hey, again, Aaron Jones, Max Brosmer, Golden Gopher. Thanks, bro. Thanks for doing it. Row that boat all the way to the Packers playoffs.
Yeah, here's the thing though. I do want to talk about the Malik Willis effect. I almost feel like I'm on Netflix and I'm in Stranger Things. I'm in the Upside Down. I'm in the Upside Down because I actually feel like the game opens up a little bit for the Packers with Willis behind the center. And it's not, this is disclaimer. This isn't that I don't want Love. Like, I do want Jordan Love. I'm not a hater.
We all want love.
Yeah.
Everybody needs love.
But I feel this little thing on, like, kind of at the base of your belly that's like, ooh, this is kind of fun. Like, this is Malik Willis coming in. We've got maybe a couple more play actions. Go ahead. You've got something. Let it rip.
We all feel it. I just want to say that quietly into the mic. Every Packer fan, every football watcher, we feel it. We feel the Malik love. We want to see the Malik sneak. We basically are infatuated with Malik. And as a good friend would say, good friend and nephew would say, it's hard not to be romantic about Malik Willis. It's hard not to feel romantic about Malik Willis.
Hey, Dilly, hey, here's the thing. We're also going to figure out our friends, our 210 viewers. We know it's out there. The math is there.
For the full episode. The shorts.
Yes.
I don't even know if those are real people.
Who knows? Those things are so far in the stratosphere, those shorts. Anyway, but we're going to figure out our reach today because we're going to be on live television. They're not us, but our terms, I believe, will make its debut on Saturday night. I guarantee 98% chance Malik's sneak is debuted. And if they don't, they have one thing, man. You better watch yourself. What network is it on? Whatever network it's on. CBS, NBC, who knows?
Peacock.
NFL Network. NFL. No, it's
Peacock.
It's on Paramount or something. Peacock.
It's
on Peacock. Those guys better watch themselves because if they don't give a shout out to the Audible Angle, we have coined the Malik sneak, and we did it last episode. And everybody, all of our viewers are aware. It's a big day.
I'll tell you one more thing for our viewers, our listeners, our viewers. If you like our shorts, a fair amount of people like them, fair amount of people see them. The way to see the best shorts, because we don't know what the hell we're doing. If you're a subscriber, if you subscribe now, you'll get access to the some of the shorts that we post that include a lot of F-bombs or other erroneous, because it's very noticeable when I put one up, we put one up with F-bombs or profanity. Those do not get pumped into random algorithms. Those get sidelined. It's like 2,000 views or 7. For the one Irby, I forget which one it was, but it was like you started with an F-bomb, there's an F-bomb in the middle and an F-bomb at the end. It was like, no, thanks for posting that, guys. No, we're not circulating that one. So somehow my ass exposure one did make it through the filters. That one was normal exposure, but well, extra exposure.
So now that and it hasn't resided, my excitement about Malik, that'll kind of go right through into Saturday evening. But what do we want to talk about the game itself? I mean, let's take 5 minutes, kind of wrap here and talk about the game. I know there's other things that we should be talking about, but I want to be cognizant to the other comments that we get and saying keep this thing to about an hour if we can. And there's no chance we ever get to under an hour.
Some people
realize that, but we'll try.
Some people might suggest even shorter, but it is about this game. It's only going to be 3 names, and it's related to the fact that the playoffs are clinched, and we're going to assume that these gentlemen are in somewhat uncertain terms. Obviously, they are on the. I think Jacobs. Did I see that correctly? That he's off the injury report. I don't get.
Yeah, he's in. He's playing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll scratch Jacobs from the list. I'll be perfectly fine if he has a diminished role. Get that man healthy. What about Zach Tom? If he,
I doubt he's going to be playing. I doubt he's going to play.
Evan Williams.
Evan Williams will be playing.
You think so?
I believe Evan Williams will play.
Well, do you want him to play?
I do. I think, and here's why I think it's okay to play Evan Williams, Dilly. And the reason that I think he's in a position where he can be smart about the plays that he's in, playing less than 100%. I mean, he's got to be 50-50. He's got to be better than 50-50 right now. So let's say he's 70% healthy. He can decide when and I'm okay with him making a business decision, right? Where Tom is, he doesn't have the luxury, because if he doesn't make a block or doesn't do a certain play, that could come to the detriment of our starting quarterback, and he won't do that. He's in a position where he will choose himself. He won't choose himself over our starting quarterback, because that's the kind of guy he is, I believe, and that's the position he plays. He plays that right tackle where you need to protect that side, and he won't. Now, I think Evan Williams has a little bit more freedom. He will have somebody behind him. McKinley will be playing behind him, so it's not a say-all, end-all. And quite frankly, all we had to do as the Packers this year is to get to the playoffs, and then we need to prioritize health. But I do want us to see – I want us to play in Week 18. Vikings fan is texting and asking, what do you see, what do you hear from Green Bay on what they're going to do in Week 18? I tell them, I'll tell you after Sunday. I'll tell you after the Bears do whatever they're going to do to the 49ers. And if they lose, it's all hands on deck. We're playing for that 2 or 3 seed, 100%.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth on this in my mind all day, really. Even while I was in the bathroom, showering and shaving, trimming, whatever, staring at myself in the mirror. And I went pretty much did a 180 on just don't play anybody that's nicked up at all. But I don't think the Packers are in a position like that. And I don't, we used to get the questionable, the probable, and the, doubtful tags. They got rid of probable. I don't know why. I don't know how that helps anything. But I would say under the old way, I think probable was 75% chance to play. I think anybody, I'd drop it down to 65%, whatever that means. Anybody close to playing on a normal week, you got to play them, because you got to play to win. We're not going to know the result of the other game. And frankly, we lost a couple games in a row. There's some, and I did rewatch the Packers-Bears games. Miraculously, at about 4 minutes left, I turned it off. I don't know why. I can't remember why. I think something came up. I had to turn it off. Up until that point, everything looked pretty fucking good. And I'll tell you what, and maybe off air we can go over some of the, the red zone deficiency. There's some weird shit. It's not excuses. It's just a way to explain, like, because you say, why did we go one out of 5 or 2? Why didn't we score more? And you can look at it, and there's some distinct things that happened. It's not excuses. It's explaining what happened. But I think you got to try to finish strong. You talked about momentum last episode. You got to have momentum. You got to feel good. You got to iron things out. And maybe it looks a little different. I've said this earlier in the year before Reed was back and fully healthy, when he first came back and before he was hurt, and the same thing with Golden. If you're going to give me jet sweeps and that shit this week, especially, I'm fine seeing Savion Williams handle that work. Because, he was banged up too. Now, he's mostly back or all the way back. Go ahead and give that shit to him.
Yeah, I think I do agree, and I'm gonna put it in a different perspective. I've been part of games that I've played from high school to college. I've been part of games that I've coached. I've been part of more games that I've watched where coaches are coaching to win and coaches are coaching not to lose. And there's a very distinct change. And what we're talking about here is coach to win. And that goes with the people that you're going to put in there. If you decide not to play some of these guys, you are coaching, you are playing not to lose, and you will inevitably lose that game. I don't know what the perspectives are. I don't know what the analytics are on that, but I'll guarantee you they're more on the loss side than they are the win side when you play not to lose. And I'll say in the game of soccer, that's obvious. It might be closer to 89%. When you sit back, you've got a 1-goal lead, and you sit back, you cannot defend for 75 minutes. You're going to concede. So yes, football is a different game, but it's the same. Play to win the goddamn game. Play to win the game. Put as many guys as you can go outside of the guys that have legs pointed the wrong direction and can't put any weight. Don't put those dudes in. And I think we know who those are. But I think we're going to be relatively healthy when it comes in Saturday night. And when I say that, I like that we have Malik Willis. I don't care who his backup is. I think we go in there and we give the Ravens our best effort. If at the third quarter we're down by 21, pull the reins, get the guys out, give some time, maybe see some guys on the offensive line, that kind of stuff.
The way I'll phrase that, which is a little, maybe one would say softer, but I'll say this: be definitive. Be definitive with your medical decisions, and if you don't want to play someone the full game as if they're 100% healthy, if it's Evan Williams and you're thinking, we'll put him in on third obvious passing downs. We don't want him coming up and trying to stuff Henry all game. We don't want him in that kind of mix, but we like his I'd say then deactivate him. Don't have him active. It's either full go or no go, and that would be my version of, I don't want to get reckless with guys, but, which defeats my previous point of I want to see Savion Williams handling jet sweeps for the next 2 weeks to keep guys healthy. Maybe flush that. I can change my mind. We can edit it out. Maybe we'll edit that out. But yeah, just either you're in or you're not. And if you're not, then you're not. And if you're in, you might play 57 snaps. And it might be, whatever it ends up being. You worry about it later. Lamar Jackson is doubtful, which in today's NFL basically means he's not playing. The Ravens are technically alive. We'll do sometimes a little behind the curtain here. Sometimes stuff before you start recording, and then you forget stuff. And I was pretty sure I had the schedule ironed out. I don't think when is Pittsburgh? Yeah, it's both noon game. Wait.
It's going to be hungry as you're looking.
I'm sorry. Reverse that. The Ravens won't know, obviously, Pittsburgh's result because we're playing Saturday night. So they're alive. For all intents and purposes, they're alive. And Huntley has had some success, Hundley, and you have to play it like a legitimate game. I think what I'm getting around to is they're going to be playing. We are not going to know the Bears results either, obviously. So we just have to play it like we're playing for the NFC North. Ravens are going to play it like they have an opportunity to win the AFC North, and it's, for all intents and purposes, a regular football game with a backup quarterback matchup, and I like our backup more.
Mid-30s temperature, by the way, tomorrow night. Mid-30s, starting about 35, 38. Going to get down to 33 by the end of it. Fairly balmy for Green Bay on the 27th of December. My take, are we at the point where we want to do some predictions, Dilly?
One quick swerve, Audible. Hot, hot. Before we do that, because we mentioned Pittsburgh, it popped in my mind, and we'll do either 1 to 75 minutes on this, as always. DK Metcalf situation, your thoughts?
Whoa, DK. 2 things, 2 points on that DK play. First of all, Mr. Metcalf, why are we going over and giving fans any conversation, any opening for discussion? And number 2, DK, we've seen your body. We've also seen this fan. You could mop him up in 38 seconds. I mean, we all know you could beat the shit out of him. I'm pretty sure we don't need to make a swing when he's standing at 9 foot above you and you want to swing. I get he said something that is derogatory. I get that he said, but we as NFL players, and I apologize. I'm not an NFL player. But as an NFL player, as any in leadership position, you have to take the high road there and walk away. Regardless if he called your mom a bad name or said he did something to your mother, regardless if he called you a racial slur. I'm not condoning that. I think it's completely over the line and ridiculous, and that fans should not be allowed to be in that stadium nor watch an NFL game again because of the actions he did. But DK, you have to think bigger picture, and you have put your team in a considerably difficult position because you couldn't handle emotionally at that moment. And I understand you are seeing red and different shades of red, which is a challenging position to be in, but that is a very, very detrimental to the team, number one, and now your contract is no longer guaranteed, number 2, which is your family. So I think DK is going to be fine long term, but it doesn't put himself in the great position with his team. I'm sure the team has his back. If I was his teammate, I would have his back 110. Haven't been in those situations, of course. Probably never will be in that position, obviously, but it's a very difficult position for DK, the team, and really the NFL needs to clean that up. I don't think fans should be able to get that close to players because this guy has nothing to fucking lose, this joker in the blue hair. That pisses me off. It's annoying. Whatever he said was uncondonable. Your take.
Well, and again, not deep research on this, but I believe he's a repeat offender with getting into that situation. He wasn't in his seats, like he walked down some roads from another spot. So yeah, flush that guy, and you know he can watch football at home. Would be the thing. And as far as DK goes, you got to be smarter. I think a very simple thing. And I'm not really putting this on Tomlin because I'm sure he's covered. It's hard to wrap up that sort of situation happening. I would, let's take it from a Packers perspective. And I'm going to wrap it into the dropping the ball before the goal line thing that comes up from time to time. And I've heard that sports psychologists explain that a little bit. It can happen because it's like you're in the zone. Like you're kind of anticipating the score so much. Everything's moving so slow for you that you lose track of it. It's not just like I'm a total dumbass, but as a coach, it's 2 simple things to drive home all the time. Every time you have a new player, mention it, have it a part of whatever. If you're on the road, you don't, and this goes for teams coming into Lambeau, don't try the fucking Lambeau leap in opposing team fields, or if you're coming in to face the Packers, don't do that shit. I mean, maybe if you got 6 fans right there, you can go slap hands, maybe. But I think general on the road, you don't do any shit. You don't walk over at all. If you want to give somebody a ball instantly after scoring a touchdown, some of that interaction maybe is okay. But in general, because you see it once in a while, you see a guy in a blowout, he goes and gets a hot dog, or weird, funny stuff. It's usually funny. It's 99% good-natured stuff. But I think unless it's like you go through the corner of the end zone, flip the ball to a fan, anything beyond that, you got staffers everywhere. Hand them and say, go give that little kid ball or my gloves or whatever, and tell him I'll walk over at the end of the game and give him a high five or whatever. Handle it like that. And, the reason why I brought up the dropping the ball before the goal line thing is I think that is something, especially like in training camp. I want you guys to celebrate and do whatever, but your celebration should be in the back of go celebrate at the goalpost. I want everybody to stand on the back of the end zone and be with your teammates. Do whatever you want. I don't care if we get flagged because you did 3 thrusts instead of 2, and it's thought 2 thrusts was okay. We'll live with those, but, do it with your teammates and do it in the back of the end zone. It's a simple thing, and you build that in. It's like when you have run the ball in certain drills, run it to the end zone every play. That's just a thing you do in training camp. So in training camp, everybody celebrates at the goalpost or at the end of the end zone. That's the fun zone. It's not right there. It's back there. And the fun zone with fans, use the staff. We got 70 guys standing around. I'm glad we covered that because we did keep it to 6 minutes. Any last thoughts on bonehead plays?
No, I just think it's tough. These guys are I honestly, Dilly, I think it's because they don't know how big of a deal they are at times. Like the NFL players, they're just dudes like us that are really good at their sport. They weren't taught how to be professional in a public scene. They're not taught how to do this. It's just dudes. It's just I'm going to make 17 mistakes next week. I guarantee it. The difference between my mistakes and DK's is I don't have national television watching me on tape. I just don't. I don't think one of my mistakes include swinging at a guy in blue hair, but I will make mistakes. Like, it's just these guys aren't ready for that level. So I think to your point, remove it all. Stay with your guys, stay with your tribe. And I think you're going to be more successful long-term. And then you can go off to the sunset like Travis Kelce will be, and just kind of go out and do your podcast and enjoy your life with your brother, right? And your rock star to-be wife. What do you think?
Yeah, this is not leading to a Travis Kelce Bros, or Taylor Swift segment. This is leading into the key word that you said, successful. How successful will the Packers be Saturday night?
I think the Packers win, and I think they win handily. I'm going to do a 20-plus victory. I think the Ravens are decent, but in Malik we trust, Packer Nation, and I do see us winning by a 3-touchdown, 18 to 20 points, 21, somewhere in that realm. But we win the game at home.
I won't go that far because I think the Ravens' game plan is still going to be pound the rock. They don't have the assets in the passing game to say, hey, in some cases you have a great quarterback and you say it doesn't matter who's out there. He can chuck the rock, throw it for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. They don't have those kind of assets in the passing game. I think they have to pound the rock. And I think with Malik in the Packers, maybe not exciting for fans. I think when they get the lead, which I believe they will pretty handily, the Ravens' pass defense has been their Achilles heel. So I think early in the game, and I think I've said it before on the show, I think LaFleur, he loves going deep. He wants to be aggressive on offense, but I think just the clock is going to run when they have the ball, and the clock is going to run when we have the ball. Newsflash. But I'm going to say 24-10. Just a nice, easy 24-10. Get out of there with the win. Maybe they get, I feel like I say this a lot, but we had a lot of games like this, especially early in the year. It's going to be a 9-11, somehow a 2-score game that never felt very uncomfortable. That's my final prediction.
I like it. Good episode. Thank you, Mandu. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about our episode today.
Yep, we'll cut up some shorts without F-bombs if we can find them. And thanks for listening. Subscribe. Look forward to our supporters getting more involved. I didn't mention it, but, Bridge Up Brewing.
Hey!
It's the best beer in America. We've said it before. It's in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. We're going to get them on board with that River Falls segment, hopefully. We've alluded to some Platteville access, some other big-time Wisconsin Division III sports. Hell, we might even get into high school sports. We're just trying to support, give those guys a little airtime. I'd rather watch, at this point, the Stag Bowl than frickin' UCF versus, I don't know.
Central Michigan versus Northwestern that's on currently.
I mean, yeah, not a good watch. Go Gophers. Got them coming up. Timed it up perfectly. Get the hell out of here. Let's watch football.
Nice, tight episode. 1 hour, 11 minutes. Nice work.
Oh, I thought that was 1 minute, 11 seconds. Yeah, it's our shortest one. This, honestly, folks, who gives a shit now? If you're still listening, you appreciate it. This was scheduled to be a quickie, about 30 minutes. And Mandu got us over the hump. If I edit out the Mandu stuff, it probably will be 30 minutes.
Mandu, can do.
Pump it up. Later.